Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to another PMP Q&A session. Today, we will be discussing 10 more questions, and these questions are from the entire exam content outline. So let's start. Let me just share my screen. Also, please try to answer, right? Nothing is right and wrong as it's a learning process. So don't hesitate to answer. All right, so let's start question number 1. All right. Vivek, you have chosen option B and D.
Yes. So as question mentions, it's a predictive methodology, so we can predict the next step, what we need to follow. And with the options like mentioned as feasibility requirements gathering, so each can be done in sequential manner. So once like one phase is complete, then we can start another phase, and that should be in iterative manner. So one iteration for first concept as feasibility, then another iteration can be for requirement gathering, and each iteration can start if the first iteration is completed successfully.
All right. Thank you, Vivek. Carlos, you have chosen option B and D.
Yeah, same concept. I think it'll be sequential because of the concept, feasibility, requirements, gathering, design, but also you can in each one you could do an iterative approach and kind of correct if you need to. So that's it.
Right. All right. Thank you. Robin, you have chosen option B and C.
Yes, certain of those activities in the question need to be overlapped. Certain things like, just take for example, testing. Testing needs to be done at various stages, and then it is a predictive methodology. So sequential would definitely apply. So that's why I chose B and C.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. Right. So I'll take one more comment. Mohan, you have chosen option B and C.
Yeah, I was kind of on the same boat as Robin is. I'm kind of sitting next to him. But basically, it's predictive. So these are obviously phases. So B is definitely the right one. I picked overlapping as well because if you're doing a concept phase and you want to move on to feasibility, there could be a slight overlap in those phases where that could be parallel path activities done in concept versus in concept phase, as well as in feasibility, and likewise for other phases as well downstream.
All right. Thank you. So, okay. So question is, you're managing a construction project with predictive methodology. The project is structured in phases such as concept, feasibility, requirements gathering, design and development testing, etc. How should the phases be organized? Okay, remember, phases can be sequential or linear, or phases can be overlapping as well. So for example, you have phase 1 here, and this is phase 2. Now, this is sequential. However, as Robin and Mohan mentioned, you can start this phase earlier as well. So there could be some element of overlapping as well here. Iterative can't be the answer because it's predictive methodology, right? Predictive methodology means it's plan driven. You know what exactly you're going to do, so there is no need to do iteration. What is iterative? Iterative processes. So for example, you complete a phase, right? And then you do the same thing again. That is called iterative. So there is no need to do same thing again in predictive methodology, right? Iterative is used in agile, where scope of work is not clear. We develop something, we show it to customer to get feedback, and then we incorporate that feedback by doing it again. So that is called iterative or repetitive. You understand, everybody? Does it make sense? Okay, so iterative can't be the answer. Random and hybrid are makeup terms. Correct answer is option B and C. Phases can be sequential and phases can be overlapping in predictive methodology. All right, let's read the explanation. Okay, Vivek, you have a question?
A question around the pattern of exam. So in such cases where two options are being asked, if it is partial correct, will we get a half mark or like it will be fully incorrect?
Okay, PMI officially, they do not provide any information on that, right? So, but based on some experts and my discussion with them, you need to get, if it is select 2, if both the options are correct, only then you will be getting a mark. Otherwise, no.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Next question. All right. Carlos, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure, but I think giving away the unrealized benefits of everything you've invested, it might not be like giving it away. What might not be the right solution. You might just go ahead and finish what you started and have the benefits realized. And I might be wrong.
All right. Thank you for explanation. James, you have chosen option D.
I believe some costs would be like the cost of the building that you've rented to house this, your salary, so on and so forth. The cost that you have to spend regardless. Basically, the unrealized benefits. Since you're foregoing the project itself or the possible opportunity with the new project, the gains from that would be your unrealized benefits at the beginning. I think the opportunity costs I remember from school, but that would be the cost of the opportunity if you were to, I think, if you were to pursue this new more lucrative project, that would be the amount that you would spend going after that one. Where this is a cost to you, as a company, let's say, and it would, if you were to not take it, it would be at the alternative cost in this scenario. I picked D.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. Okay. Lala, you have chosen option A.
I believe this is a sunk cost, the cost that already incurred in the old project, right? If I understand the question correctly. So I think would be an incurred cost already. That's a cost that cannot be recovered, right? It already happened. So that's why I went with sunk cost.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Priya, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, so the statement says that the alternative project is an potentially another opportunity that could offer higher returns. So since you're foregoing an opportunity to make higher returns, this is an opportunity cost. So I chose B.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for detailed explanation. So this is a question where I can see all the options and almost, let's suppose if 20 people have answered, so 5 have chosen A, 5 have chosen B, 5 C, 5 D. Okay. Right. So let's see what's going on here. So you're managing a project to develop a new software application for your company. During the planning stage, you identify an alternative project that could potentially offer higher return. However, you decide to continue with the current project. So let me explain it. We had a similar question earlier. So you have two options. So you have option A and you have an option B, right? So suppose this is your current project and this is your new project is highly lucrative, but it's risky as well. So you decide to go with A. Now, question is, what term best describes the cost associated with foregoing the alternative project? Means cost associated with this, what do we do that, what that is called? Now, this is called opportunity cost. So if you choose A and you let go of option B, the benefits associated or the opportunity that you lose, that is called opportunity cost, right? So I gave an example. So for example, on one side, let's say you have apple trees. On the other hand, you have oranges. So what's the cost of choosing A? It's oranges. You are losing oranges. So that is called opportunity cost. So if you choose option A and you do not choose option B, the lost benefit or the lost opportunity is called opportunity cost. So in this case, you are going with the current solution. You're not going with the new alternative. So the cost of choosing current option is the lost opportunity that you will be getting by going with new alternative. So correct answer is option B, right? What is sunk cost? Sunk cost is a cost that you have already invested. It's gone. It is sunk, right? That's why it is called sunk cost. Unrealized benefits, it's a make-up terms. Alternative cost, it's not a term, right? So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. If you're not clear or you have a comment, feel free to share. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, James, you have chosen option D.
It's a little bit of a guess, but obviously it would be verbal as part of it, and then visual as part of it, would seem, with the hand gestures and body language, and oral would be something of similar answer to A. I felt like with lingual would be all forms of language is why I selected D.
All right, thank you, James. Monica, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with the term described in D. And so I am familiar with verbal and then nonverbal communication terminology. So just process of elimination, I selected verbal communication.
All right, thank you. Mary, you have chosen option D.
Yes. I know AMD sounds familiar. I can remember just looking at my vocabulary words that D is the tone of your voice. I'm just trying to remember when studying for the terms, and that's why I chose D. I remember something in reference to like the tone of your voice. It's not just verbal, but it's just the tone of it, the way that you project it.
All
That's
right.
why I chose.
All right, thank you. So yes, correct answer is option D. The focus here is on the product manager uses varying pitch, tone, and inflections in their voice. So this is called paralingual communication, right? So verbal is just when you speak, right? Visual is, yes, there are visual elements are also involved, or for example, you're looking at a dashboard or your expressions, but it's combination of both, and the focus is on varying pitch, tone, and inflections in their voice. So this is called paralingual communication or non-verbal communication. Another word for this could be non-verbal communication. Okay, right. So correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Kokila, you have chosen option C. You're on mute, Kokila.
Yeah. So I was to tell the team that the management decision, so that is not the right option. I am eliminated that. Facilitate a meeting with sponsor and the team to discuss their concern. I don't think we should include the team at this point. Have the team decide the way forward considering needs and circumstances is also not the right thing to do as a project manager. So then the best option is having a meeting with sponsor and discuss the team's concern.
All right, thank you. Priya, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, I thought that, if management has chosen a sponsor, there should be a reason for it. They either have some kind of capability if they have been chosen as a sponsor. So I would tell the team not to worry about it, because none of the options seems very diplomatic. Because even if you're going to tell the sponsor to his face that your team thinks that you don't have experience, how will you have that conversation? That's a very tough conversation to have. So I would just chicken out and tell the team not to worry about it.
All right, thank you. But Yeah, that's a good strategy. I like that. And maybe most of us would be doing the same thing in our real life situation. But what about team's concerns?
I mean, we have to give him a chance or her a chance, you cannot judge just by initial, knowledge. We haven't really worked with him or her yet, so we have to give them some time to prove their worth on the team.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. Okay, Mary, you have chosen option D.
Yes, so I chose D.
Why?
Looking at the answer now. Let the team decide the way forward, considering needs. My God, that's horrible. That's a horrible answer. I didn't finish reading the whole answer option.
Okay.
Let let the team decide the way forward, considering needs and circumstances. No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. That was an option where I'm supposed to eliminate that one. I don't think that's an option. Option D is not an option.
All right. At least you shortlisted to 3. Okay. Thank you. Robin, you have chosen option B. So, Robin, what's wrong with option A and option C?
They don't include a collective meeting between the team and the sponsor to discuss the team's concerns and to come to solutions. So that's why I chose option B.
All right. Thank you. Ken, you have chosen option C.
When a new sponsor usually joins one of my projects, I usually meet with them on a one-on-one and then do an introduction to the team. And depending on the right, I would do it in that manner and then have an open meeting as an introduction to the team as a second step.
All
And
right.
in that meeting with the sponsor, I would usually have a discussion and bring up the point of their skills. Because not everyone comes across, if they're an introvert, that could set, a lot of times when you have an introvert join the team, they're perceived as not having the skills, but meanwhile, they're the smartest person on the whole team. So that's why I would meet with them first, feel them out, and then introduce them to the team.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. Rudy, you have chosen option B. What's wrong with option C?
Well, I could have went with either B or C, and I've done it both ways. But B to me just seemed like maybe a little more accurate. But like I say, I could have went with B or C.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for detailed explanation. So to answer some questions, we need a PMI approach or PMIism or PMI principles. So one of the PMI principles is have direct communication and inclusivity. Option C seems a good option, but the only problem is that team is not included in it. And whenever you have an option, when you act as a mediator, as a first step, do not go for that option. So as we have been discussing again and again, have direct communication. Have direct communication, because when you add a mediator, there are chances of confusion. So if teams have concern about the experience of the project manager or sponsor, then they should directly address the concern, right? How they discuss with the sponsor, we are not talking about that. So first we need to have a direct interaction where they get to know where confusion or if there is a lack of clarity that should be resolved. So facilitate a meeting with the sponsor and the team to discuss their concern. That's the correct answer. Let's read the explanation. So this facilitation would help in building trust, clarifying expectations, and ensuring that any misunderstandings are resolved, right? So for that, having a direct conversation with the sponsor is the right choice. Next question. All right, Manmeet, you have chosen option B.
The only reason why I picked option B because the confusion is about the $80,000, like a numerical number for sponsor, and he wants to know how this come up. So how we could avoided the confusion by explaining the earned value management in the progress report. That mathematics would have made him explain why 80,000 come up.
All right.
I think.
Monica, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, so it says the sponsor is confused about how schedule performance is presented. And so it's like a gap in their understanding. So I went for the training option. I think project performance metrics includes EVM, which is what the $80,000 is referencing.
All right, Monica, what's wrong with option B?
That assumes that the project sponsor is reviewing the progress report.
Yes. Why it is wrong? What's the problem in adding more detail of EVM matrix in the progress report?
Because you already reported out one time on the progress that said 80,000. So clearly there's a lack of understanding, and more detail isn't necessarily going to help.
All right. Thank you for a detailed explanation. Basma, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I think if you go with the simple reporting format and include just what the milestone have brought up to the project and how they change from one milestone to the other, that would explain what is happening and how the change got to the $80,000. And it doesn't have to be very confusing and all numbering.
All right. Thank you. Priya, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, I do agree that, using a simplified reporting format is probably a good approach. But the second half of the sentence, it says include only high level schedule milestones, which I feel is not transparent enough to let the sponsors know that are we on schedule or are we on track or behind schedule. So I thought the best approach was to conduct a training session for the sponsor, because each team might have a different way of reporting and it's very customized to that particular team. So B would be a good idea, but the thing is it's a general explanation of earned value metrics. It's not like specific to the team. And the first one, well, I mean, it's schedule variance, you can interpret it in so many different ways. So I thought C would be the best approach.
All right, everybody. Thank you for detailed explanation. This is a really good question and almost similar to the real exam, right? And maybe actually similar to the real exam. Okay. So We have been discussing this again and again. Whenever there is a knowledge gap, focus on mentoring and training and coaching, regardless of the fact whoever the person is. If it is sponsor, chief executive officer, it's a team or customer or anyone. Whenever there is a knowledge gap, go with the trainings and coaching. So correct answer is option C, conduct a training session for the sponsor on interpreting product performance metrics. Why other options are incorrect? Option A, present schedule performance in terms of time unit. This does not address the knowledge gap. So for example, if team has decided to use earned value analysis for progress reporting, and one of the stakeholders, they are not able to interpret that, you don't change your entire system for one stakeholder, you understand? You will be using the same system and you will be educating people about how you are measuring progress. So just for one person, you cannot change the entire system from dollar terms to days, right? Because that is an entirely different process. Then if somebody, let's suppose if somebody says, I don't understand the days or weeks, then would you be reverting back to the dollar terms or what you will be doing? Because the common EVM uses dollar terms to interpret progress. So instead of changing to another system, we will educate people, we will coach them and mentor them. So A is not an option. Including detailed explanation. We do not add detailed explanation in the report, right, of the EVM matrix. Report is not for education purposes. Report is a summarized version in which we present project progress. So detailed explanation of earned value management is not a way. And also remember, this is also what we have been discussing. Sending a document and having a conversation or training or coaching or conversation or direct communication is much better than sending a document. So whenever you see two options where in one option you see some sort of interaction and another you're just sending a document, go with the option where you have some interaction, because interaction is a better way for proper understanding. So B is not the right choice. Use a simplified reporting format that only includes high-level schedule milestones? No. If we need to send a detailed report, we can use EVM. So D is not the right answer. So correct answer is option C. Let's read the explanation. So you'll see similar questions in the exam. So this would be the level of difficulty of exam. Not all questions would be like that. There would be questions very simple and straight, but at the same time, you'll see questions like this as well. Okay, next question. All right, so Carlos, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, it says that the vendor doesn't have the resources to use the software. So option A, I mean, I'm speculating a little bit, but option A would be in terms of the purchase order and the contract with the vendor, that they would have the resources, so that we would ask them to hire the resources who are expert in using the software. That's the thought.
All right, thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen option B.
In your concept, you mentioned that even if it's a vendor, we still consider them as a team of the whole project. So I think providing training with existing resources to how to use the software seems to be a practical option. That would work for both.
All right, thank you. Robin, you have chosen option C.
Yes, actually, at first I also was siding with option B, but because the vendor hasn't got the software nor the resources, and it would cost money to go that route. The only solution that would work is option C, to collect the data and input into the software yourself. And that would.
All right, absolutely. So correct answer is, so yes, correct answer is option C, collect the necessary data from the vendor manually and input it into the software yourself. Why option B is not correct? Because it's clearly written, and training their resources would cost money, which does not make economic sense. You understand? Yes, training is the best choice, but here it is clearly written, training would not help in this situation. So in previous questions, we discussed training is the best thing to do whenever there is a knowledge gap. But in this question, it clearly says that it does not make economic sense to train employees of the vendor, right? So that's why option C is correct. Option A, require the vendor to hire additional resources who are expert in using the software. If training the resources doesn't make sense, then hiring would make sense, because that would be more costly, right? Option D, terminate the contract. We don't go to the termination option. Termination is the last resort, and for these reasons, we do not terminate the contract. So correct answer is option C. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Carlos, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, from what I understand is the check portion is you actually stop and review the results to see if the solution is working.
All right. Thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, I was between A and C, but C seems more sensible because check means if the solution is first working, and then if the potential problems come, we'll find a solution for it. So that's kind of made me think A is not a first option to pick, C is the one. That's why I picked option C.
All right, thank you. So Haas, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I think when we say plan, do, check, act, right? So we need to do the adjustment to the plan, right? Uh, so so that we act upon those what needs to be done next. So I believe the adjustment to the plan based on the evaluation result is what we need to do here.
All right, thank you. Okay, so correct answer. The question says, if we read the question, it says you are using Edward Deming's wheel. This is also called Deming's wheel, which is PDCA or PDSA model. Question is about, in the PDCA model, what is the third step? Where we should focus on in the C step or the check step, right? So question is about check. So we have first step as plan. We planned something. Step number 2 is do. That is experimentation. We implement the change at small scale within the organization. So this is PDCA model is for continuous improvement. If you want to improve your process, You plan a change, and in the do step, you implement the change at small scale. And then you have third step, that is check. In check, you analyze the result of your experiments. If results are favorable, then you act, means you implement the change at organization level. If results are not favorable, you go back and you adjust and replan. So this is called Deming's wheel, PDCA or PDSA. This is also called study or check. So in study or check, you analyze the result of your experiment to see if they are if they are in line with the intended results or not. So question is about step number 3. And in step number 3, we evaluate the results to see if the solution is working as intended. Problem with option A is that checking and evaluating potential problems. No, we do not just look for problems. We look for results. If the solution or the change is working as per plan, we implement it at the organization stage. Option D, making necessary adjustment to the plan based on the evaluation result. That's the next step. After checking, you do option D. So C is about reviewing and evaluating the results to see if the results are in line with your intentions. Right. Correct answer is option C. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, James, you have chosen option A.
Excuse me, I answered this not knowing the answer, but I work in a environment like this where the project manager has very little authority over design. And so I chose A. Is a very common theme to our projects, frankly. B, I don't know if B would have prevented this, or it wouldn't have where I worked anyway. Everybody knows the plan, but sometimes other more important things fall behind, and your project may not get chosen. I'm not sure how C would have helped that either, because typically, it isn't.
All right, Vivek, you have chosen option B.
Yes, so I was looking in the option B and D, like A and C are like not very correct. So B is like, because when project plan was shared with the other stakeholders, they have like their agreement was not taken. If there was an agreement, they would have been already like highlighted the other priorities, and this situation can be avoided. Option D is like on the similar line, but it does not talks about this particular stakeholder. It's talking about all entire organization, and which is not very specific, and the agreement of buy-in is not mentioned there. But that's why more inclined towards option B.
All right, thank you, Vivek. But option B also talks about with stakeholders. It doesn't talk about specific functional head, no?
That's true, but like functional head could be like, since it mentioned all the stakeholders, so that can be considered. Or that's what I was saying.
I got your point. I understand that, but I'm just saying If we take the same logic, whether it is entire organization or with all stakeholders, I would say organization is more specific than all stakeholders. You understand? Because organization is a smaller set of people as compared to all stakeholders. But I take your point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Lela, you have chosen option D.
So I thought that the project importance and priority were not communicated clearly in this organization. So when they kickstart the meeting in the beginning, it was not clearly communicated. So I think that was the problem here.
All right, so absolutely correct answer is option D. Why? If we read the question again, and it says you are awaiting project drawings from the design team. So number one, they are aware like you need something. Upon follow-up, the function head informs you that they are busy with another important project and the design drawings could be delayed. So there is no surprise from their side, like we are not aware of it, like what are the drawings that you need, means they are aware of it and you're doing a follow-up, right? So it means they know the plan. That's why they were working on that and they said they have another important project and that's why drawings could be delayed. So the problem is not that you haven't shared the plan with the stakeholders. The problem is there are other important projects on which they are working. And it's clearly mentioned they're busy with another important project. And that's why drawings could be delayed. So they're not saying we are delaying this because we had no idea about it or you haven't shared plan with us. They are delaying this because they're working on another important project. So correct answer is option D. Project importance and priority were not communicated clearly to the organization or the relevant stakeholders. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Rudy, you have chosen option C.
Yes, sir. So I'm thinking since it is the CEO or chief executive officer who is dissatisfied with the poor performance of the previous project managers, the best thing that I would do personally is go to him and see what are those problems, identify them, and then discuss on how to correct them. That's just what I
All right.
chose C.
All right, thank you. Robin, you have chosen option B.
Yes, I thought that in the circumstances, you need to identify exactly what the problems are first. So a detailed review of the project plans to address the issues would be the starting point.
All right, Robin, what's wrong with option C?
Maybe the chief executive officer doesn't really know what the issues are.
All right, thank you.
So if you're going to discuss with them, you need to identify exactly what needs to be identified first.
All right, thank you. Monica, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on in this question, but I think it's most important that you kind of meet face to face to understand what the issues are, because it alludes to, it says they have encountered multiple issues, including missed deadlines, scope changes, and resource constraints. So I think in conversation with the CEO, you can kind of understand these things better.
All right, but Monica, it is clearly stated in the question statement, like, what are the issues? So issues are already there. So what you want to discuss with the Chief Executive Officer?
Oh, I missed that part. So,
all right, good. I just raised a point. Thank you for comment. Okay, Alan has raised another important point, and it's we need to do our homework first, understand what is wrong, and then talk to the CEO. So that is correct. Correct option is option B, conduct a detailed review of the product plan to identify and address issue, because you are already aware of the problems. So in the statement, if the problems are not mentioned, then it's a good choice to talk to the chief executive officer and understand their expectations, their performance KPIs, or what are the issues. But since they are already mentioned, so what you need to do, you need to conduct a detailed review of the product plan to identify and address issue. And also, if you see, given the urgent situation, what should be your course of action to ensure success in your role as a product manager? So there's an urgency. Second, issues are already there. You understand those. You need to conduct a thorough review to come up with the plan, and then you can discuss with those plans with the CEO, and you'll go well prepared. Correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right. Vivek, you have chosen option A.
So resource leveling is a process where we can distribute the equivalent workload to across the resources. That's the best option we can do in this situation. So those who have the high workload, they can distribute their workload to the members who have bandwidth and low workload.
All right, thank you. Monica, you have chosen option B.
I chose option B because resource smoothing is a resource optimization technique where you don't change the start or end date. You don't modify the critical path. So I think between resource leveling and resource smoothing is the better option.
All right, thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen option B.
To my understanding, resource smoothing is typically a strategy where, how do I put it? Where we have spread the duties equally to meet the deadline. Where leveling is, we're changing the dates. So that's why I picked smoothing instead of leveling.
Absolutely, that is correct. So correct answer is option B, resource smoothing. Why? Because in leveling, you optimize resources, but at the same time, your deadline is extended, right? So for example, if team members are, let me just do it quickly here. So suppose this is your current resource utilization. So you have resource A, B, C, and D, and this is 40 hours per week. Resource A works, let's suppose 80 hours per week, 40 hours, 60 hours, and let's suppose 50 hours. Now, in Resource leveling, what you would be doing, you will be moving this extra work next week. And as a result of that, your deadline is extended. This is resource leveling. And what you do in smoothing, instead of moving this extra work to the next week, what you do, you raise the bar. So instead of 40 hours, team members would be working 50 hours per week. You're doing resource optimization, but not at the expense of changing your date. So if you read the question, it says, your project is approaching deadline and the customer is pressurizing you to expedite delivery. So there is already a pressure on delivery, right? So you cannot extend the deadline. So leveling can't be the right answer. So correct answer is option B, resource smoothing. Crashing and fast tracking, those are schedule compression techniques. We're not talking about that. The problem that is mentioned in the question is resource constraints or resource optimization. So you will be only picking an answer that is addressing the problem mentioned in the statement. So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, everybody, we're done with today's session. So just put your score if you recall what was your score yesterday. What's your score in this mock test, if you recall? What was your score yesterday and today? 60%, 50%, 30%, 50%, 40%, 50%. Okay, 70%. I don't remember. Okay, no problem. 60%, 60%. So most of you are above 50%. Couple of you are less than 50%. No need to be worried. It's a learning process. But one thing that I'm seeing is some of you are getting good score in one mock exam and the next day you are getting low score. Maybe this is because you're well prepared in one topic and not prepared in another. That could be the reason. But again, nothing to be worried. Each question is a concept. It's a learning process, right? When we go through 10 questions means we are learning, right? So no need to be worried. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll see you in next lesson.